sabes que tu mamá te quiere. Por eso está preocupada de ti. I mean, you know what you went through with me and my jale. Todo lo que sufro yo por mi parte, so you gotta understand that's where she's coming from, right? Look, I know you're a grown woman. Yo no me quiero meter en tu vida, right? But you're always gonna be my baby girl. Remember that, huh? I know I always used to joke around and say, ya cuando te vayas, no estés regresando con tus cositas, but really, en serio, you'll always have a home with us. The door will always be open. Aquí. Hey, as long as I'm alive, you're always gonna have a place. Tú, mía, son familia ustedes, ¿verdad? You know that?
I know, Dad.
Okay. We love you, mija. We love you.
I love you too. I love you, Dad.
Te amo, mija. Que Dios te bendiga.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sisko and Mike Podcast. Hope you guys liked that trailer. I know it was pretty dope. We've been waiting to watch this film. I'm like,
Yep. I missed it. I think there's been two film festivals here in LA, and I haven't been able to get the opportunity to go because I've been busy, either personal stuff or whatever. But we saw the exclusive here.
Yeah.
I mean, with us. So
You had a private screening.
yeah,
we did technically it's buffering private screening, but
I mean, it's what is it, like 20 minutes?
18 minutes.
18 minutes?
18, 19
But it took us
minutes,
an hour and a half because of Cisco's internet. Okay, so
yeah. But anyways, guys, today we actually have the actress, the producer of the film as well.
Executive producer.
She's actually, now we can add the award-winning actress to it. We got Sonia Balcazar joining us.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
no, we want to thank you for not just coming, but showing us your film. And I know that last time you were here, we were talking about you making it, and now here we are almost a year later. It was in December when we did the last episode because we had our ugly Christmas sweaters.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's been almost a year now, and we finally get to see your film in full context.
Yeah.
We did shoot December 3rd and 4th last year. So, yeah, full circle. Here we are.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
But yeah, so I know you've been promoting this. You've put a lot into it, and it's been doing the cycle with the film festivals. And even now, like when you were watching it, I noticed you still kind of like really get into it, and you were twirling your fingers around.
I get emotional. It's a personal story. So every time I watch it, it hits me. It hits me all the time, but it hits me in a different way. I get emotional. I cry most of the times when I see it. Today, I try to hold back my tears so I wouldn't mess up my makeup. But it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch because it's so personal.
But was it harder to make when you were doing that throughout the process? Because you're actually going through it and watching it, because it does get intense. We had pauses, but it gets really intense. So my thought process is if you have a hard time watching it while you're filming it, it must be even harder. Or I don't know, because you have to recreate that moment over and over.
It was definitely hard to make. It was challenging because I was sourcing from a personal place. Like all of that pain that you see it's real and true to me, but also it gave me an outlet to express it, because a lot of times, and I think the reason why I made this film is to release that pain, to release it, to like let it go. And even a lot of what I say and do in the film, like the lines that I have in there, are things that I wish I could have said, things I wish I could have done, or wish I could have kind of expressed in that pain or in that relationship that I didn't. And this was my opportunity to give myself the grace and peace and forgiveness to stand up for myself, but also express the pain that I was going through. Like a lot of those things were the things unsaid for myself and the women in my life that I know had relationships like this. The things that they wish they could have said that they've never said, those are the lines that she says in the film.
And like that, well, for people that don't know what we're talking about because they just seen the trailer and they didn't even know, this film is something you went through, and it's about like the cycles we talked about it last time of substance abuse and just emotional and physical abuse in relationships. And I think we've seen it in our culture with our parents, and we've seen it with family members where they fall into alcohol or where they fall into some sort of substance abuse, or there's just physical abuse just in general. But even now, emotional abuse, I mean, it's just, it hits with everybody. It can hit with anybody on both sides of that.
Also, and then the codependency as well. You look at this film and a lot of people resonate with it. Doesn't matter what culture, heritage, ethnicity you are, it resonates across everyone because there's a lot of those patterns in families and the codependency where it's okay because that's how mom and dad did it. That's how grandma and grandpa did it. Mm-hmm. That's how your aunt and uncle did it. So every model that we have, or a lot of the models that we have, are just a repeating cycle of that relationship, that addiction and codependency. So when do you stop and break the cycle? And that's really why I made this film. And well, even back up before I made this film, it was hard for me to even end that relationship because everybody loved him. My family loved him. And how do you end a relationship when everybody, those cycles are okay? You just deal with it is how everybody saw it. And so when you end a relationship with something like that, where you realize, like, I want something healthier, I want something that's not this toxic, it's hard to walk away. And it's hard for people to understand, why are you leaving? Well, this is not healthy, but why? Because everybody goes through it, right? They're like, well, I go through it, so, you can do that too. But I think it's the codependency where we can say, I was codependent and I own my part in the relationship too, because I allowed myself to be in that and be codependent in that relationship. So I had to heal myself to be able to walk away too.
And how did you do that? Like, we always talk about like the people that do walk away from, whatever it is, a job or a relationship, a friendship or whatever it is. What was that thing that made you be like, no, this is that moment? Because throughout anything we're going through, we always say, no, this is it. I'm done. I'm done working for this guy, or I'm done being this guy's friend, or I'm done with this relationship. What was that moment after, like, it's like, no, I can't really?
There were a lot of moments because we would make up and break up. There were a lot of moments, but I think it comes down to, am I searching for love outside of myself, or do I need to look inward for that? And in all those years, I can't say that I ever had any love for myself. I was always trying to prove that I was worthy of love through loving him, through giving to the relationship, through, let me just be good enough and he'll love me. Let me just be good enough and he'll stay. Let me just be good enough and he'll come home. And that's the hard part. And, you see in the film, aren't we good enough? Like, we're not good enough for you. So do it for yourself, right? And I realized that I was always searching to be good enough, to be worthy of love from someone else, when all I needed was to look inward, and I needed to do a lot of personal healing myself and saying, this is enough. I can't do this anymore. My grandmothers have done this. My, family members, the women in my life, like, I got to stop this. I got to end it. I got to stop. We've got to break this cycle. And I didn't say those things in my head when I was doing it. It was just like, you just get tired. You get tired of searching for love outside of yourself. That, I had to look inward and start healing myself. And that was just the beginning, because then I had a whole lot of healing to do, right? A lot of therapy, and just being okay with being alone, being okay with being, which is really hard. But I realized up until then, I had always been in a relationship, right? I met, my ex when we were in middle school, right? High school sweetheart, all of that. So I had never spent time alone. I was always in a relationship with someone, and I needed to be in a relationship with myself to know who I was, what my values are, love myself, be worthy of my own love and care and time and energy, and and just begin that process, go down that road of healing, and not just healing for me, healing for my ancestors, healing for the generations before me, because it didn't start with me. This is passed down, right? And I saw it modeled for me, and I followed the same pattern. So I had to be able to like say, I want something different. I want something healthy. I want something more peaceful in love and relationships. And so it was hard. So there wasn't really one moment I can say. There was a lot of little moments that built up to, okay, it's time to go.
You know, when we're watching the film, there was one scene where he's spilling what he's going through, you know, what he was feeling. I'm assuming he lost his mother. So, and you were kind of there to comfort him. I think there's a flip side to a lot of things too, that a lot of times we try to be fixers. You know, we want to fix a situation. We want to fix a person. We want to fix other people's relationships, friendships. And I think that's where sometimes we get lost in that moment too, that like you said, you're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about someone else, and you're trying to fix someone.
Yeah, it's always like, you're right. That's exactly what I was doing. I was always trying to be the healer, the fixer, the someone to help, the one with empathy and compassion, and the caregiver. I mean, I did it for my siblings. I took care of my siblings, and, you know, oh, this is someone I can care and nurture for because he needs it, because he's hurting and he's got a lot of pain and trauma that he's been through. So did I have empathy and compassion? Absolutely. That's why it's so hard to leave, because I understood why he did the things he did. I understood what pain he was going through. And of course, the film is fictional, right? We created circumstances to exemplify the situation, but the truth is I empathize, and I'm like, I get what he went through as a child. That's why I have compassion and empathy, and that's why I stay, because I can see how much he's hurting inside, and I just want to love him. But that's the codependency in me. That's where I'm like, that's where I'm stuck in this relationship for years, knowing it's not healthy for me, but I stay. What do you have to say? Oh,
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
Look, you said a lot of things earlier before the movie started, during the movie, and now. And I sat back there on purpose, okay? I don't even know how to say, dog. Look, I guess what I'm trying to say is I could see, I saw his side. Obviously, it's not okay for him to do what he was doing in the movie, or any man to do it in any relationship. I'll be honest. I guess I could say I see myself in him, because that's what happened in my relationship. I was him, you know. And hey, I'm being honest. I haven't talked about it on here, but like he said some things, like when he said like, oh, I could hear it in my head, I could see what I'm doing. I just know how to stop it. Many times I felt that way. You know what I mean? And it's like, you're right. He's hurting, and you're trying to fix him. But be honest with you, sometimes we as men, we don't know how to fix our own selves. Like I went through a rough childhood. You know what I mean? And that affected me in my relationships, not just with my partner, but even with this fool. You know, like sometimes I get into it with him, or sometimes I get into it with my brothers, because of a certain way I grew up. And I'm not trying to victimize myself, and I'm not trying to make an excuse, because that's what it sounds like. But it's hard, because nobody teaches you that shit, you know what I mean? And like, my father didn't teach me how to be a man. I was the oldest. I had to learn on my own. I didn't even know how to be a man, and I'm still learning how to be a better man, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, all this shit is going to my head, so I just don't want to, like, I don't want to cry, because I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry.
It's a safe space.
I know, dog, but I feel you, because, for example, in my relationship, my last relationship, I could see how she was being there for me, and I didn't see that, you know, even to the end, like the love scene. It wasn't even a love scene. It was like I had been there, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's like a curita. It's like a Band-Aid. It wasn't even I don't know how to explain, like the touch Like I'm a very like my love language is touch. So when that would end that way after a fight or whatever, it was like if I that was my way of, oh, I'm loved. She loves me.
And things are okay.
And things are okay. But then it closes out with you just laying there and just like, como si nada. What about your love? You know, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm fucking all over the place. My bad.
Yeah, well, and even at the end part, she's in conflict with herself because she knows she loves him. I know I love him, right? She knows she loves him, but she also knows this is so painful.
But you got to love yourself, like you said.
Yeah.
You have to love yourself. You're giving up your love for him, and he's not. Like, don't get me wrong. I can't speak for him. I'm assuming him or anybody that's going through this, we do love. We just don't know how to show it. I loved her, you know what I mean? But I just didn't know how to show it.
And it goes back to something that's, it's so cliche when people say it, but the more you experience it and the more you experience life, it's so true. You know, people say these things like Raul said earlier. People say these things for a reason. You got to love yourself to know how to love someone else.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think like you and your situations, you have two people that think this is what love is, but if you don't know how to love yourself, you can't love together because you don't have that.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't know how to love myself. And I'm still learning how to love myself. You know what I mean?
I think we all are. We're still
I know.
constant.
But at that moment, I definitely didn't love myself.
Yeah.
You know, I hated myself, and I had all this anger in me. And who did I hurt? I hurt the people closest to me. And like I said, this fool, I mean, we've gone through some shit together too. Like, I could tell you that I've said some shit to him that I was like, fuck, like, dude, like, why are you saying shit like that? Like, and it's because I'm hurting, you know what I mean? And I don't know how to channel that anger, or not even just the anger, it's just the hurt. It's like, I used to always have this saying, and I think I said it here before, I sometimes felt like a snake. You know, snakes, people think snakes are bad, right? Oh, be careful, a snake te va a morder, or it's going to bite you. In reality, if you look at the nature of snakes, they don't go out there looking for you to bite you. Okay, they don't go out there looking for people to fucking strike. Snakes bite you when they're scared.
To protect themselves.
So I always used to say, I felt like I was a snake. And my mom, my brother, my dad, my friends, you know, my wife at the time, it was like, fuck, like, the moment, and I'll be honest, I didn't realize, in the movie there's a kid. I have 2 kids. I didn't realize that, hey, it's going on to them, you know what I mean? Like, fool, you gotta stop this shit. Like, you gotta stop this shit because, no mames, your kids, is this what you want them? I got 2 girls. I got 2 beautiful girls, 15 and 14. Do I want them to think that this is the way that their love is? And it's not, so I'm learning. And I don't know, I'm fucking.
We're all learning, right?
I'm emotional right now, so.
Right. And I love that this is like it's emotional because it's something we all relate to in our families or in some way in our family structures. We're not, my mom, like my dad, they weren't taught to love themselves. They were taught to you find husband and wife and you make it work and you go to work and you have kids and you buy, that's what they were taught. Like the healthy love yourself and have, good boundaries or good foundations, things like that. Like those things weren't taught to us, right? We didn't get taught those things. We just get through life. We survive. We put food on the table, right? Like he says, you put, roof over your head, food on the table, because that's what we're taught. But we're not taught how to be healthy, how to love ourselves first before you get in a union with someone else. We're not taught those things. And so it's almost like we're set up to fail in our relationships because, and you're right, like he had a lot of pain too. And I know he did, which is why I stayed so long, because I could have that compassion and love for him to know that he's been through so much. And I want to be the soft spot for him. I want to be the soft landing. But to my detriment, then it means I'm in pain because he doesn't know how to love himself, so he can't love me. I don't know how to love myself, so I can't love him, right? And so it's just a repeating pattern, but we got to break out of that and for our children, right? And even in the film, the daughter, who I don't have a daughter, but the daughter also represents me as a child, watching the models, right?
Yeah.
And then the grandfather, it's generational. There's a grandfather and then the couple and then the daughter watching it happen and hoping let's break the cycle so that she doesn't continue on that path with her relationships, which is me breaking the cycle for whoever watches it. My nieces, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's for my nieces, or maybe it's for someone out there who's in a relationship who doesn't know, should I stay, should I leave? Or even if you do stay, then just work on loving yourself so that we can be good partners to one another. I think it just resonates. But we're not taught those things, not even in our culture. And like, how many people do you know, like aunts and uncles that you know have been to therapy or talk about self-love? Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody in my family.
Yeah.
And so it's like when I talk about that stuff, they're like, what are you talking? You're going to therapy? What does that mean? Self-love? You just, no, I deserve this too. And it's hard because that's our families, right? We got to be the one to break the cycle. And though there's a peaceful way to love, there's a peaceful way to be. And of course, not every relationship's perfect. You're going to argue, and that's healthy. Yeah, it's healthy to argue.
It's the way you argue. It's the way that.
Exactly.
And I didn't. And see, like I said, I didn't know that. You know, in my mind, I was like, man, fuck that. Fuck you, whatever. You know, it's not about that. It's like, oh, shit, compromise. I didn't even know what compromise was. I mean, I knew what compromise was. But in a relationship, I didn't know what compromise was. It was like, it's my way or the highway.
But here's the thing, and it's a repetitive thing like you're saying lately, you know? You talked about breaking generational cycles, right? You know, we have to forgive our parents for the things, right? And we have to forgive ourselves. Because as much as we try not to be like them, or as hard as we try not to be like them, we repeat them unconsciously through other ways. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like your dad, but in some ways you do things like your dad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like we have to break those patterns, and it's just a generational. And it starts with forgiving them, forgiving yourself, and becoming better and learning from it.
And that's the hard part for me too. And I was just talking to a friend about this, where I've forgiven my family, I've forgiven my parents, right? They did the best they could with what they knew, and every generation it gets better, right? It's better than what they experienced. What my parents went through was bad. They went through bad circumstances, but they made a better life for us. But then I have to forgive them for the life that I had. And we had a good life, but there's also all this trauma that we experience, and then I hold on to that, and I need to make sure I don't pass that down as well. So I've forgiven my parents, but the hardest part for me is forgiving myself. Can I forget? I'm still working on that. And I'll be honest, I haven't done it yet. And I work through that. It's painful and it's hard, but I got to forgive myself, and I'm working on it. I haven't done it yet, but forgive myself for not protecting myself the way I should have all those years, not knowing any better, right? Like, I'm still working on forgiving myself for not saving myself in those situations. And, you know, I'm trying.
But at the same time, you know, sometimes we're hard on ourselves, a little too hard. But it's like you also didn't know better, like you said. So sometimes, you know, forgiving yourself is learning that, like, okay, like, I didn't know any better. Why am I fighting myself and being like, I should have done this, I should have done that, when you didn't know that was an option?
Right.
But honestly, I think it's, and I'm not going to speak for her, but I'm going to speak for myself. It's just, it's hard because you know better. And it's like, no mames, like, that was stupid. Sure. Like, yo me enojo. I get more angry now. Now I'm angry. I'm more like, fuck. I can't believe that stupid shit. Like, fuck. Like, it was so easy. Now I see it. It was so easy. The blueprint's there. You could have had, you know, a good relationship with anybody. But you realize, you're like, no mames. Like, how fucking pendejo am I? And I'm sure the same way in your end. You're like, no mames, like, I could have, the chance, give me one more chance. How many chances did you not give him? How many chances did I not get? You know, and I'll be honest, I never thought she was going to leave. So that's why I was like, fuck it, one more chance. But you beat yourself up after because you're like, fuck, era tan fácil, ahí estaba. La answer estaba ahí. Mm-hmm. So, fuck.
This is difficult, right? I mean, these are deep things.
And I'll tell you why it's difficult. Because I'm facing you and I feel like I'm facing her. And I like I said, I'm sorry. I know you didn't go through that shit with me. And I'm saying I'm sorry because I know, like, I can relate to him. And I know I'm sure maybe he's sorry, maybe he's not now. But I know I'm sorry. So,
well, I've even forgiven him. I'm the last one to forgive, but I've forgiven him because, again, I understand where it came from. I understand the addiction. I understand the pain and the source of it, and so I've forgiven him. He didn't even know any better, and so, gosh, it's so hard. And like you're saying, like you see yourself in him, and that's why I think it's important to tell these stories, because also it could be healing for you too. Like you just said, I'm sorry, right? Like hearing you say those words, it means so much to me because you're a representation of that. And I appreciate that because I hope with this film, there's healing for you, for me, for anyone who watches it, for my family. I just wanted to heal myself, right? So thank you. Thank you.
You don't have to thank me, but.
And I think it's important you said that because you talked about it earlier that you had men come up, and right now Mike is sharing that. You've had both sides of the people come up and thank you. And it's kind of like the movie and kind of what you said, that you hear the voices and you're kind of going through the emotion and you're like, what the fuck? But seeing it is like, damn, you're not seeing it through your eyes. You're seeing it from an outside perspective as a whole. And I think that's important. Like you said, stories have to be told like that.
Yes. And here we are telling our stories. And I think, I mean, this is, it's hard. It's hard going through this, even the film festival circuit too. I love sharing it, but it's also revisiting this again and again. But I mean, even today, this makes me feel good, Mike, because if it's resonating with more and more people and it's healing, and even a path, even the step to healing, even a step in the right direction to looking inward and seeing what do we got to do to heal. If that's what this film is doing, then it's serving its purpose in this world. And all the pain that I went through is worth something.
I'll say one thing. If it's not just healing, it's more like, I used to think that I was like, I'm the only one going through this. I'm the only one doing this shit. Now, I realize a lot of women go through this shit, and a lot of men go through this shit too. And I'm talking about this end. You can't stop. You could be better. You just got to believe it. Like, I used to believe, I'm not going to be better. I'm already a piece of shit. So if I'm a piece of shit, I'm just going to be a piece of shit for life. You know what I mean? But you could stop. Just because you did piece of shit things in the past doesn't mean you're going to do them again or you should do them again. If you really want to, you're going to stop. And, I got friends, they're going through similar shit. And I always tell them, like, hey, this is my perspective. Pretend like I'm speaking for him. This is where you're at in this part of your relationship. He's not going to do it because you're addicted. You're addicted. As long as you keep giving him that chance, no se va a poner las pilas. You need to go through with what you said. I'm pretty sure many times you said, I'm going to leave him. I'm going to leave him. I'm going to tomorrow I'm going to leave him. Didn't happen. You know what? If you take action, he's either going to wake up or he's going to be the same. At that point, it's up to him. You already did your part for you. So, again, you can't stop. You're not unique where you can't be a better person. It's just, te tienes que agarrar los huevos and then you have to surround yourself with the circle of people that are going to push you. Because you could always go, you could get with the, you could fall victim to drugs, you could fall victim to alcohol, you could fall victim to, fuck it, I'm going to be doing this lifestyle, depending on who you surround yourself with. I'm glad that I had this fool. I had my brother. I had a couple of friends. I have my friend Cindy, who was there for me for a long time. She's been there for not as much as this guy because I've known him longer, but I've known her since high school. And so my prima, surround yourself with the people on both sides, not just, I'm pretty sure a lot of women or even women and men that go through what you went through, you guys probably feel like you have nobody to go to, or you guys are scared to go and say it because maybe you're gonna get judged, or fuck that. Talk to somebody you trust. That's the bottom line. I know in my situation, she protected me a lot, just like in the movie, right? I protected you. I've covered up for you. People don't even know. They think you're a nice guy, but I know you. And it was like, fuck, you're right. Speak up. Speak up. And if he loves you, and it could be with anything. It could be with a relationship with brother, sister, mom, dad, friends. That person respects you and loves you. This fool's told me plenty of times, hey, fool, you're fucking up. Oh, shit. If I didn't care about him, I would, man, fuck you. So speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah, and express yourself too.
Exactly.
I feel like that's true too. But then also when people did tell me to leave, I didn't listen to that advice. Like the last time I got back with him, my dad was disappointed. And he looked at me and he's like, are you sure, mija? Because you've done this before. He's hurt you before. Are you sure? And for me, I needed to try one last time to see if, like, did I give it my all? And I did, and it didn't work. And so then I was ready to leave. You know, that last time. And then, like, the line, Jesse Borrego, right? He says, the door will always be open. You'll always have, a place. My dad told me that in the driveway of our front yard. He said those exact words. And so I put that in there because he gave me the safety net to say, okay, you're going to do this again. I don't agree with it, but you need to do what you need to do to prove it to yourself that, I went back, didn't work out, came back home.
So, you know what you were just talking about? You were talking about perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that huge. Perspective is huge. You have to be able to, and it's hard. You have to be able to disconnect yourself from the situation. If you're in a relationship, disconnect yourself from this relationship and think about it from the outside. You know what I mean? Kind of like you view a movie. You see all the characters. And just perspective on how you define things. How you define yourself, how you define words. You know, to me, perfection, you know what perfection means to me? It's making a mistake and learning from it. Mm-hmm. It's not about not making mistakes. It's about what you do after that. You make a mistake, you learn from it, and you get better. That should be perfection. That's how I see perfection, you know? Mm-hmm. And just like anything else, you can relate it to relationships. You're going through a situation. You have to be able to, like you said, love yourself, learn from it, and just be better. Not just for your relationship, but for you.
The hard part thing there, bro, is sometimes you feel like you're not capable of it. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like in my case, like I was telling you right now, I didn't feel like I was capable. Like I didn't feel like I deserved it. That's another thing. See, if you grow up a certain way and you're being told you don't deserve this, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve this, and you're shown love a certain way, you learn, you internalize it and say, I don't deserve love.
I'm not worthy
of this shit. So fuck it. And when it comes around, you reject it. It's like I don't know. It's like I guess a medicine or being allergic to something. Your body and your mind. Again, I say this a lot because I was one of the persons that believed, fuck that whole therapy bullshit. Fuck all that. I used to say that.
I think we all did, yeah.
Yeah, and I did it for a long time.
Even like, you're going to a therapist, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
Are you
exactly.
Okay? No, it's good.
Yeah, and now it's like, fuck that. Like, no, like the mind is very powerful. I understand that. So, again, it comes down to make the mistake, don't do it again. But when your mind tells you it's not a mistake what you're doing, you don't believe it's a mistake, how can you rectify something that your mind's telling you it's not a mistake? They just don't understand you.
I think you just described like the philosophy behind how we pass on these generational traumas and the unworthiness that we carry with us, right? So you described your childhood. Mm-hmm. You were fed the ideas that you were not worthy of love, you're not worth it, you're not worth those things. And then you were presented in a loving situation with the relationship, and then you rejected it because you're like, no, love is watching them fight and argue and all this toxic stuff, because that's what I was taught as a child. You don't know that, but your mind's been programmed to think that. So then when a healthy love comes, you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's not fun. That's boring. So then you go to the excitement, the drama, the toxic stuff. Oh, that's what love is, because that's what you were taught. You were programmed as a child. We all were.
Yeah.
That's how we grew up, and we were programmed that way, and we've got to understand that's the programming of our mind. And you said your mind is strong, right? Your thoughts are strong.
Yeah.
Right? Our thoughts are what kind of repeat that, and we have to break that programming just like a computer. Change the program. The program taught us that we're not worthy of love. You got to be in a toxic marriage, fight for love, or else it's not real. We got to change the software, change the programming, and then put new programs in there to say, no, there's healthier ways to be, love, receive love. I am worthy of love. We got to change all that programming from what we were taught as children, and it's not your fault. It's not any of our faults. It's not even our parents' fault, because it just got passed down. But we got to forgive and then be better people. Now with the experiences, like you said, making mistakes, and perfection is making that mistake and learning from it and moving and growing and becoming better human beings, right? So now we're all sitting here, okay, now we can learn from our mistakes, and we can learn that we're worthy of love, and learn that we can be better partners and in our future relationships. Yeah. I think that's beautiful that we can sit here and talk about this and know that there's a better way.
Yeah. And it goes both ways, because not just with the making mistakes. I have a homegirl, I'm not going to say her name. A couple years back, I would always say, hey, if your man cheated on you, would you leave him? Nope. I'm like, why? Because cheat, hit, you don't leave your man. And I'm like, what the fuck? What makes you think that? Like, hey, that's how my grandma, my mom, it's like I said, generational. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, if my girl cheats on me, I'm leaving her ass. You know what I'm saying? But just the way she said it, cheat, kill, hit, that shit don't matter. You got to stay with them because you married them, and that's what you're supposed to do in our culture. That's like, no mames. That's stupid. But
damn, that's
yeah. And I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, it's crazy that how it's
more
ingrained.
Common than you think. It's very common, unfortunately. And it she'll admit it, but that's the example that we have set for us, right? Those are the women in our lives that we see them go through that, and then we think, well, why aren't they leaving? Oh, is that what love is? You stay by their side no matter what, even though they're hurting you. That's what we're taught, and we got to break that.
Yeah.
I know we could keep going on this, but I want to ask you something. Like you talked about your dad earlier, what he told you when he saw the film. Like, what was his reaction? Because you said your mother kind of went through something similar, and what was his reaction to seeing that? Did he be like? Was he like, oh?
He's never he commented on certain things here and there, but he's never, given me his direct opinion of it. Mm-hmm. But, there's a line in there where he says, did you tell your jefito that? Or did your mom tell your jefito that, right? Because my example of my dad was my dad came home every night. He was there there's not one single night he wasn't home. He came home every single night. So then I thought, well, that's the example. That's what you got to do.
You can do that?
You can go do that
as long as you come home.
Right? And so then I compared, but then I thought, well, that's not any, not any different. It's just that he came home, right? And so it's hard for people to see themselves, see our flaws, or even admit to those things. But I don't think he has issue with it, because it's what we went through, right? It's what my mom went through. But he did come home every night. There was food on the table. We had a house, we had clothing, we had everything we needed. He took care of the house, right? Mm-hmm. He worked a lot. My dad worked a lot to provide for us. And so even with my father, Jesse Borrego, it says in the beginning, what they had went through before. Because as soon as my father retired from working, he stopped drinking. he would drink here and there, but like it stopped. And so then in my mind, I was like, he was only drinking to relieve the stress of work, physical labor. He'd come home physically tired, and he'd have some beers and pass out. Well, he was physically tired, but when he retired, you would, Dad, you want a beer? No. Uncle Frank, you want a beer? Hey, Frank, you want a beer? No. Are you sure? Because everybody's like, he's the guy that drinks all the time, right? And he's like, no, like, I'm good. And we're like, oh, Dad doesn't want a beer. It's okay. So I realized he was drinking just to relieve his stress. And once that stress of work was gone, he didn't need to drink anymore. And so then I thought, well, was he really an alcoholic or what? But then people will do those things to, like the Band-Aid, right? The Band-Aid from the pain, the stress. I want to just relax and get home. And everything was provided for. Everything was good. So I thought, this is functional. This is good, right? This he was there for every birthday. So then it's hard because we still went through it. I can't deny that we went through it, and he can't deny we went through it as children too. But you know, it's hard to tell these stories because we do have to look at ourselves. We have to. That was
That's
us.
your story. Yeah, that's your story, literally.
Has he ever apologized, your dad? To you as a daughter?
No.
No?
No. But I and even like when I said earlier, I've forgiven my parents. I don't even think I need an apology from him because I get it. I understand. And not that you know, like I have that empathy and compassion. And I'm not saying that that's the right thing for everyone. It's the right thing for me and my family because he's a better man. He worked to become a better man. And not everybody gets to say that they've done that. And my dad has done that.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, dude.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? That when my dad, I used to always say my dad was a piece of shit, man. He was a piece of shit father growing up. I could say that. But now I have a better relationship with him, right? But the way I saw him being a better man was through my kids. More especially with my son. Because that was my first son. I'm his first son. And I was living in front at the time. And he would come, every time he would get home from work, stop by my house and talk to my son. And the way he was talking to my son and the way he was acting with my son, I was like, mother, how come you didn't do this shit with me? But I didn't get jealous and I didn't get mad. It was kind of like, oh, shit. He's finally learning, he's showing love. The love he didn't show me, fuck it. As long as my son gets it, I'm cool with that. You know, and so, yeah, you're right. You know, has my dad apologized? No, yeah. But at that time, you know, I didn't need it. It was kind of like, I'm seeing it. Fuck it. Whatever me and him have, we'll squash that shit later. But as long as he's being good to my kids, who are the things that matter the most to me, I'm cool with that. You know?
I see that now, too, and I love that you recognize that in your father with your kids. But even now with my dad, there's this moment. I know I have a picture in my phone, but there was this moment where my dad worked a lot when we were kids, so he was always at work or you know, we'd come home. It was just being off of work, and then he'd come home. But there wasn't a lot of time together. It was just work, come home, work, come home. And so there was this, I walked in the house, my parents' house, and my dad was, he's retired already, he's sitting on the couch on his recliner. My brother's sitting next to him. My brother just got off of work. And my brother typically goes to visit my parents after work every day. Well, most days. And from being in a family where we were like latchkey kids, so I took care of my siblings, we took care of each other. My parents worked all the time. We didn't have a lot of time together because it's about survival. But there was a moment, my dad's sitting on his recliner, my brother's sitting next to him, and they're both watching TV. And my dad reached over, and he grabbed my brother's hand, and he was holding my brother's hand. And I took a picture of it because it was that moment, like, that's my father, like, to his son, right?
Yeah.
Like, I got you. I'm here. It was so beautiful. I just had to take a photo. I don't even think they know I have it. But it was just a moment, and they're both looking up at the TV. And they're holding hands. It's so beautiful. Like, I know he's a better man, right? And I just hope, you know, whoever is going through anything like this, or you, like anybody who sees it and recognizes it, like you get to that moment where you're like, okay, I learned from these lessons. I forgive myself and I can move on and I could be a better person, better human being, better partner, right? And make amends for the things. And be a good grandfather, right? Like your dad's a good grandfather and you love seeing him with your son. It's just, with your kids, it's a beautiful thing to see someone evolve into better human beings.
Yeah. You know what's crazy, Rob? Right now I'm thinking of the song, the new Blink-182 song.
I haven't heard which one.
Fuck, I have it right here. It's about, are you gonna tell me love? Are you gonna tell me you love me once I'm dead? Like, what is it called? Yeah, it's the new song, bro. It's the.
But we do that a lot. We tend and like my dad passed away, and there's so many things I wish I could like have conversations with him about.
One more time. It's called
One More Time.
One More Time, and it talks about like, dude, like making up, just like you said, just showing love, being here, just forgetting about the bad shit, doing better for you, doing better for your friends, your family, whatever. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm feeling all fucking emotional today, dog.
I know, this is an emotional podcast.
It is. It is. But,
if you could talk to your dad one more time, what would you tell him?
That I love him. No, I'm gonna get emotional. No, but yeah, like recently we went to my daughter had a Flacórico in Vegas, right? And they had like the Dia de los Muertos. I'm fucking emotional, really. But we started doing a thing where they had like ofrendas, and they had one like a hospice thing. You write a note and they would pray. My message was simple: was miss you. You know, and that just hits because it's true. You know, like I just wish I would be able to talk to him again.
I'm sure he's hearing you now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's probably here right now, too.
Yeah, no, he was here last time.
If AJ was here, AJ would be like, hey, he's right there, bro. Tell him.
But yeah, just have those conversations that we never had. Like, we didn't have a close relationship where we could just talk. You know, like, just talk. Our talks were about things that are still instilled in me, and it's crazy because I always thought, you know, like, what we learned from our fathers as men, and it's like, I didn't learn anything about life from my dad. But what I did learn were things that are like super important in my life, which is music, oldies. Oldies are part of my life, like, you know, and that's what I'm passing on. Cars. So it's like a lot of the things that make me, you know, but it's indirect, which is weird. But like life lessons and things like that. So now I've found a different way that I appreciate the things that he did, even though it's not the things that maybe at that time I needed or wanted. And now it's like, look, these things are huge in my life, and it's dope to experience and know it. Because a lot of times I always wonder, like, what did he teach me? But you just look at the little things.
I love that. Yeah.
So.
Do you hear a certain song? Is there a certain song that you listen to, like an oldie?
Man, there's a lot. There's a lot because, I mean, everybody always talks about his finger things with the oldies. When he was driving, he was always driving us. And like, do 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 do. He always be like, you know, he always do it on the steering wheel.
Do that shit?
Yeah, he would be on the steering wheel. Sometimes I find myself like with the same songs, and I'm like, you know, so there's a lot of songs. Yeah. Like there's sometimes songs that like I'm just driving and I'll get emotional because it's just like I was thinking about him, and it'll come on. Yeah. You know, like I just said, take things for that value of what it is, and maybe it's just a simple message, but. Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, we have to be able to share that love with our loved ones and show it and say it.
Yeah, and like you said, say it while they're here, say it while they're alive. Like when we were kids, I don't remember my parents saying things like "I love you" or hugging us or anything. Not until like my grandma died. Once my grandma died, and then it just like we all snapped out of it. Like, oh, death, like they're not going to be here all the time. Then we started hugging and saying I love you every chance you got, like, because you don't know if this is the last time, because it was sudden for my grandmother. And it was just with my grandfather, we had time because he had cancer, my dad's dad, but my grandmother was sudden, came out of nowhere, and that's really what shocked the family. We're like, wait, this came out of nowhere, we weren't prepared for this. And then and then the I love yous and the hugs came. But it's important to say those things while they're alive. Like, just express how you feel while they're alive, not when they're gone and at their funeral.
Yeah.
Tell them while they're here, right?
Yeah.
And so now, and our relationships have changed over the years. Like now, my dad, like it wasn't, we were still close. We were always close, but now we're even closer, right? And so every day I talk to my dad. If I don't call him, he calls me. And every single day we have that conversation. And even now, when I was a kid, I was always fighting for my dad's, like, his approval or his, like,
validation?
Can he be proud of me? Yeah. So finding love outside of myself through performing good in school, getting straight A's, like doing good deeds. That was how I earned my worthiness in my mind as a child. I didn't know that I was worthy of love without having to work for it, right? Mm-hmm. So I was always looking for my dad's approval. And my dad had high expectations for me, so it was always I was never there. I was trying, it was never good enough. But now, my dad will tell me he's proud of me all the time. And it took a long time for him to say those words, but now he gives it away so freely because he's also learned that he needs to say that to his kids, not just me, like my brother and my sisters, and his grandchildren. He says those things. I'm proud of you, mija. I'm proud of you, mijo. And like knowing you need to say these things whether you're alive, right? Yeah. Give love and appreciation as much as you can. Don't wait.
Man, I searched for my dad's validation for a long time. And finally I said, man, fuck that. I don't need his validation. Last time was when I bought my house. I was like, apa, ¿quieres ver la casa? I took him, and I was just like, I'm like, nothing I do ever is fucking good enough for you. So what the fuck?
I think we all go through that. That's how I was with my mom, like she set the standard to what it was. But that's just the way they know. They don't know another way to push you ahead, to keep you
Congratulations, mijo, you bought a house.
But here's the thing. Like, even though it's negative, they don't know another way to motivate you. Like, oh, this isn't good enough, so now I got to do something bigger. Now I got to buy a fucking second house. Now I got to buy a bigger house.
Yeah.
So they don't know any better of how to push us. So with my mom, it was always like, oh, like, you get a B, you're in trouble. And then I saw it with my sister, and I was like, what? Where's the same thing? It's not. Why isn't it the same standard? But it's just because they see you, they don't know another way to push you and motivate you. So it's like, if you're getting straight A's all the time, like, okay, well, I can't beat you down for it. So what I got to do? You get one bad one? All right, that's it. You're in trouble, or this and that. In this case, your dad, like, oh, okay, you got a house, cool. Like, that shouldn't be your ultimate goal, And even though they don't express it the same way.
Yeah. I mean, the only times my dad and me have, like, really connected, and I always say this, is through sports, especially with soccer. I just took him to the America Chivas game a couple weeks ago. It was like we were homies. It was like, hey, ba, Other than that, I mean, now he's doing more better. We talk more. He understands. He knows what's up. We've cried together. But I remember the first time I think he told me I love you. I don't know how he said it. The scene in Step Brothers at the end when the brothers are like trying to hug each other and they're like, they don't want to hug each other and shit. That's how it felt with my dad. I remember hugging this fool and he was so forced. Yeah, he was like, okay, mijo, I love you, dad, too.
He was just like,
yeah. I was like, fuck, that shit feel weird. But he's doing better. And with my son, I'm totally different. Come here, sonny. I love you, son. Yeah. Like, who's your best friend, son? You're my best friend, dad. I love you. I love you too, dad.
I love that.
You're
already making a difference. You're already breaking the cycle.
Because that's what I wanted from my dad. You know what I mean? And I have my son, and I want to teach him, like, we don't have to be that way. Like, and I don't care. Like, anybody says, dude, what are you doing? I love my son. I freaking love him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to tell him I love him until I die. So, I don't know. It's just... And I do it to my girls, too, but...
And sometimes people just get stuck in that loop, like you said, that cycle. But speaking of the cycles and things like that, have you had anybody from your family be like, oh, talk bad about the movie, or be like, oh, why would you tell our story or show that?
No. No, because everybody knows. Like, everybody has been through that or similar, right? And what I'm getting a lot from my family and my cousins, especially my cousins, because we're all the same age, and we have, you know, our parents were the siblings, and then we had the same grandparents. They're messaging me and calling me and telling me you're speaking for us, you're speaking for us, yes, prima, you're telling, you're speaking up for the women, because a lot of those lines, like I said, those are the things left unsaid. Things my mom, I know she wished she would have said, the things that I wish I would have said. So it's a fictional film, but it's all the feelings and all the pain and all the things that I wish I could have gotten out, but never came out the words couldn't come out of my mouth. And they're stuck inside me. And so my cousins, if they were in a relationship like that and couldn't ever say it, I said it for them in this film. So it's they're just thank you for speaking up for us. Thank you for not telling our story, but thank you for speaking for women.
A voice for the voiceless.
Yes.
I got a question for you, because you mentioned this at the beginning, and you mentioned it in the movie to the characters. You said that your family, obviously, it was so hard for you to let go of him, because your family was they loved him, right? Mm-hmm. Since you've made the film, because I don't know, obviously, how long ago was this, and how long, if all your family knows, especially those that were cool with him, has anybody found out through the film that, oh shit, this is what you were going through, that they were not aware?
Yes, a good majority of my family.
And what did they say?
A good majority. What was their reaction? I didn't know. They didn't know, because I own up to the relationship, and my partner too. I was codependent. I covered for him a lot. I covered for him, for my family, for my friends, work. I covered for his work bosses that were going to fire him, making excuses for him. I partook, I was participating in covering it up. I don't really talk to his family, so I wouldn't. You
wouldn't know what reception they had, or
right. I don't think they would have seen it, because it's at the film festival circuit. So
were they aware though of what was going on?
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
they're aware, especially because it was in the family. It was so.
Yeah.
It was also passed down as well. So it wasn't a secret at all.
Gotcha.
Especially because I was worried. There were weeks at a time, days at a time. When you say, "Oh, I'm going to pick you up and take you and your parents to the movies," and then you don't show up, I'm worried, right? Mm-hmm. Or, just things you're supposed to be there. Are you alive? Are you in the hospital? Did you get in a car accident? Are you in jail? I can't just not care about you.
Yeah.
I have to look for you. Mm-hmm. And then looking and calling, talking to family members, friends. Have you seen him? Even his boss is calling me. So it was pretty clear. But did my family, my immediate family, I'm sure, right? But my relatives didn't know. People outside of the relationship didn't know. And finding out now, okay, that's what you went through.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to find out too.
Yeah.
Because maybe they questioned you a lot without really knowing, That's one of the things. People don't know what's going on behind the scenes or inside, behind those closed doors.
Yeah.
So you have this image of, let's say, you and that relationship, right? You have this image of it, but behind those closed doors, nobody really knows.
Well, even one of my aunts was like, "Oh, he was so nice. He was such a nice guy. He was so nice." I remember, and that was the appearance, right? And I want to be very clear. Also, what was really hard to leave was that when the addiction wasn't a part of the relationship, things were really good. Mm-hmm. They were beautiful. And he's loving and caring and genuine, and he helped me be a better woman. We met when we were kids, so growing up, he helped me become a better woman, and I know that, and I give that to him, because we grew up as kids together. We attached in our, it was like a trauma bond, right? We attached to each other. He had his own trauma, I had my own. We come together and we were attached to each other, and we grew up together as kids, and we learned life together, and he helped me be a better person, and I give him that. So then when you have all these good moments and these good times and these lovable, just beautiful moments, and then you have the dark ones, you're like, but can I just get back to the good ones?
Yeah.
Because there's so many good ones.
Usually,
or you usually say, yeah, he did this bad, but he did this good.
Yes.
and usually that's what happens. Usually there's obviously more good times than bad times, you know?
Or vice versa, but you always think of the good times
Sure.
and you idolize that and you fantasize about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Sure.
I know we could be good. I know we could be good. Fuck it. And like I said, it all goes back to another chance and another. No, this time is gonna be different, but you know the answer to that already.
Right.
So
I can't compete with addiction. I can't.
yeah,
The only thing I could do is learn how to love myself, and I'm in that journey right now. Is trying to forgive myself, love myself, and it's a journey. And there's good days and there's bad days. Good days and bad days.
Now, with everything you've done with the movie, the film, the traveling, has that helped that part of it? Like that loving yourself, knowing all these people are loving and giving you feedback and winning awards. And obviously it's for a lot of reasons, you know? But I think the storytelling is obviously one of the huge things about it. Like, has that helped your journey?
It's it's hard. It's hard because it's like opening up a big scab, right? A big scab. And I say scab because it was like a Band-Aid that was put on top of like all this pain that I had. And then now it's opening it up, and now I'm vulnerable to the whole world. It was really hard for me to even put this film out there because even, like I said, my family, they didn't know what I was going through, or like my parents. When my mom saw the trailer for the first time, the first words that came out of her mouth were, I didn't know you went through that.
your mom.
Yes. And so I had to clarify some things. I'm like, okay, Mom, well, the relationship I was in, it wasn't physically abusive. And in that scene, there's the scene in there where he grabs my arm. I go, let's not confuse that. This is a fictional film. Let's not confuse that with my relationship. My relationship, you know him, he was never physically aggressive with me at all. He wouldn't hurt me physically ever. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, sure, but not physically. Never would ever do anything like that. And I know that, and I'm proud to say that. But my mom thought that part of that scene, which was just, it was one, the director had given Danny, who plays my husband, that cue to surprise me in that take. And so that wasn't a part of the rehearsals. It wasn't a part of the script. It was just one little, let's just try one thing different. He told Anthony to grab my arm, and then I reacted. So what you see in the film is just a natural reaction to that moment, but it was never a part of the script.
Yeah.
And so my mom thought that I went through that. I'm like, I didn't go through that, but it doesn't mean women don't go through this.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing I do want to say is it doesn't minimize also if you don't go through the physical part.
You're right.
So the abuse is abuse no matter what.
Yeah. And
So I mean, and I know you know that, but I just want everybody to know, like, just because I don't hit you and I mentally abuse you doesn't mean that it's not abuse. So
You're 100%
it's not okay.
correct.
So I don't know. I just
I think-
wanna,
Yeah, and I like that you said that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
and I was
you.
going to touch on that actually before you said that, because we got to make things clear that a lot of people think abuse is just physical, right? But there's, like you said, spiritual, mental, emotional, financial. There's so many ways to like just take advantage of someone or abuse them in that sense. So it is important that we talk about that and make sure that it's
All of them.
all of them,
Yeah.
all of them, not just one.
Yeah.
You know. So
You're right. Absolutely right. Yeah, exactly. So you're right. Please, women, men too.
Man too.
Yeah.
If you're in those relationships, it's all abuse. But for my purposes, I just needed to clarify for my mom that I didn't go through that with him.
Yeah.
But everything else was there. But even that, being that vulnerable with everyone, it's hard because I'm still in it. Even watching it today with you when we were watching it, I'm still emotional watching it.
Yeah.
It's very real. But I think the bigger picture, I think the bigger thing that's happening is that it's healing, and it's motivating people to look inward, and really just about loving yourself, right? Having enough love for yourself to say, I'm worthy of love, and I'm worthy of a healthy relationship, and let me do what I can to be that for someone else and be that for myself. So it's worth it. It's making all the pain worth it.
Yeah. I want to talk about a little bit about actually filming it. You know, most people, I'm pretty sure, were aware that it was your story, right?
I think so. If not, I usually tell them in the Q&A afterwards.
Oh, okay, okay. So, like, just I can only imagine, like, you know, because it is intense. It is something. Everybody working on it. I know everybody's professional, but they're still human. So seeing these emotions, like I just wonder what the whole vibe was on set. Like after a scene like that, when he grabs you, and it's something so real, and you just say cut. How does everybody still react after, like, or go back to normality? You know, like what's the vibe on set like that?
It was hard, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because of all the sets that I've been on, I usually don't hear a reaction from the crew after. Usually, you know, it's cut, and then it's just people start moving stuff, and people start getting to work. And when they would yell cut, especially after the scenes in the living room, everybody would be like, oh my God. Like, you just hear them gasping and just, whoa, wow. Oh, like they're reacting to it because they're in it and they're impacted by what's happening. And I've never heard that before. It's usually, okay, like moving some equipment. Everybody, I felt like the energy in the room, and we had a pretty tight crew, but everybody was affected by it. And they were talking about it after, like, oh my God, I was crying in the other room because they could, through the monitors, you know, being in the other room, crying or being affected by what had happened. Like, whoa, that was heavy.
Damn.
Crazy.
Well, you know, we got to ask Jeff that now because he was actually filming, right?
Yes.
Jeff was, Echoes World was one of the cinematographers on that. So we got to ask him about that. But yeah, that's just crazy. Just thinking about when I was watching, I was like, damn, like if I'm getting drawn in, like, I wonder how everybody else that's working on it, because it's like you said, it's so real.
And we did it like a play because, and typically they're shot in short snippets or for the scene, depending on where we're at, right, in the kitchen or the living room or the front room. But with Jeff, he wanted to do a oneer. So when we were rehearsing it and also when we filmed it, we didn't cut. There are some cuts in there, but we didn't cut. We ran it from beginning to end. So there wasn't like, oh, we'll do this part, we'll do that part. It was like beginning to end. And the camera, Jeff just moved with us, right?
I think he mentioned that last time. He likes doing that type of shots.
But it could be makes sense because you can't reciprocate the same emotion. Like if you just get that one good emotion, like it's just there.
The tension builds up.
Like imagine you redo that scene where he grabs you again. It's not going to be the same reaction.
Yeah, you're right.
And even as much as you know you're a great actress, you're an award-winning actress. It's like it's still a different reaction. You know, like now I got to act it instead of a natural.
Yeah.
So,
oh shit! And then you went with it too. That's another thing because you could have broken character.
For real.
That was a surprise. I was so shocked.
Yeah.
I was like,
how did
what
you,
just happened?
How did you maintain, like through that, like knowing that you were like, oh shit, and then you just said, fuck it, roll with it.
Well, I knew it was I know it's a oneer, so I know we're not gonna cut. Right. I know we're going all the way to the end, so I wasn't gonna stop. But it shook me up. It shook me up. I was scared because I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know that was coming. I didn't know it was going to grab my arm. So my reaction in there is just a natural reaction. I just pushed him back and I said, don't fucking touch me.
Yeah.
And that was just natural because I don't know. I guess I would do that if someone did that to me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's what it does. Yeah.
And then moving on and then there's
was he like, I'm sorry, I had to do it after or? Like after the shot
after we were done and they yelled cut, then he told me that was a note that he received from the director, LV, Chris Leva, who gave him the note, which was genius because he didn't tell me, and that's what directors do. They'll have these little genius moments, and so for Chris Leva, he gave him that note privately, and then it snapped me out of it, and it created a whole different scene. And we ended up using that one for the film.
Nice.
That's nice. Well, you guys had a lot of little notes and little side things going on that set, right? They were playing all kinds of tricks on you.
Yes. Oh my. So many tricks. So even after that moment, you know, we pushed back and then we're arguing. And then I don't know if you remember, I smell him. I'm like, we're face to face, and I'm like, right? There's a moment in there, I smelled beer on him, and he reminded me of my ex, because that his scent, and I know this sounds sick, but that was a familiar scent to me, is the beer on his breath. And it was almost like an attraction, like a pheromone or a cologne that you smell on somebody that's familiar, right? They're like, oh, that's familiar to me. And that's what happened in that moment. So they had him drink a beer or two, like one or two tall cans, to make him like have that scent of beer on his breath. I smelled it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I was like, holy shit, he smells like my ex. That's crazy. But it was just going on in my head. I didn't say, like, it just happened. I was like, and it just a natural reaction, right? And Chris, our director, Chris Leva, I told him that. It was a private moment. We were in rehearsals. We were rehearsing at the house. And I had just happened to mention, like, yeah, you know what? Like, yeah, my ex, like, when he would drink, like, even the smell of beer on his breath, like, I would smell it, and I would be like, that's familiar to me. It was attractive, because it was normal, right? And I loved him, and it was just his scent. And I just happened to tell him that in private, and he used it on set.
Yes.
That's crazy how little things like that do. Like method, we talked about it last time. Remember method acting and all that, just to kind of, damn.
And then
his job is to create the emotions.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
film.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So that's pretty dope. That's crazy.
yeah. I was surprised. I was like, wow, he pulled out some magic out of us from all these little, genius moments that he came up with. So Chris Leva, shout out to Chris Leva.
Yeah, you had a
director.
great group, right? Working on that project. You had some great actors too,
Yeah.
Like what's next now? Like what's after you did this? Like, do you get like a certain high that is like, I don't know if I can recreate something like this again?
Well, the next thing I want to do is direct.
Okay.
So I want to direct a film, and that's next for 2024. And I'm working with my mentors, and I didn't even think about directing really, but a couple of my mentors were motivating me and encouraging me to consider it, just based on how I work with actors, with coaching and helping other actors out. And so I considered that for my next project. So I'm still acting. I have a film coming up in December that I'll be in. We'll be shooting. It's an indie film. And then some other projects that I'm doing that I'm in. But the next big thing for me will be to direct. And it's going to be a short film, but to direct it and then also take that film into the film festival circuit. So that'll be the next big thing. But of course, still auditioning and still working. Right now we're on the SAG-AFTRA strike, so there isn't any big stuff happening, but there's union waivers that are given to specific projects. And so those are the projects that I've been working on, the ones that have the approval from SAG to be done. And they're like non-studio, they're small independent films. So there's not any big studio attached to them or anything. So directing is my next thing. So you'll be hearing about that pretty soon.
Nice. You were just talking about the strike. Has that affected anything or any promotion for your film?
Absolutely. Oh, not for my film?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Because we're not.
It's independent, right?
We're not. I was the executive producer on it, so I funded it. I didn't have like a big studio or anything attached to it, so we're good to promote it. But there are other films that we can't promote because they're attached to whoever we're in negotiation with for the studios.
Has that impacted you, like with your auditions and things like that?
Absolutely. I used to get them frequently, and now I think since the strike, I might have had 2 auditions that were not union related. They're like commercials. They're not a part of the negotiation. So, and that's just 2 in 100 and something days. That's not a lot. That's a lot of people are out of work, cast, crew. A lot of people are out of work right now because of the strike, but hopefully we come to an agreement.
When is the King of Downey coming out? Is it the King of Downey or the King of Norwalk?
King of Downey, right.
When is that coming out?
Well, I think Johnny from Chicano Hollywood, Johnny Murillo, is still shopping it around. Okay. So whoever he ends up making an agreement with is where we'll land. But I'm excited for that one. That one's gonna be so good. They already have the whole first season written.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So they have the first full season. We just need to get that agreement so that we can get going on that. But I can't wait.
I got a feeling it's gonna do its own thing.
What do you mean?
Like, I think they're gonna do it their own way.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think. Especially right now with everything going on. You know, there's so many stations that are making changes or trying to like change things around. You know, like we talked about earlier. You have I don't want to say it like this, but you have white people trying to tell you how to do a sitcom about a Mexican family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
We might just, you're saying there's a lot of opportunity for us to create independently.
Yeah.
And this way we have more control over the
Exactly.
content and the vision.
Yeah.
And if we end up doing that, independently, then we have a lot more control in how it comes out, right?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
if we do that, we can even release it wherever we choose, and then, it's ours, right? We don't have to.
So I got a question. So all the, like, this was an independent, but when you guys shoot a film, like, you're going to be producing or directing next year, right? Who has final cut? Is it the studio, or do you as a director have final cut?
It depends on whatever agreement you make, but it's typically the director.
The director, okay. The only reason I asked, because I was watching a YouTube video. One of the movies that I really like right now is, was it Talk to Me? I don't know if you've seen it.
the thriller.
The scary movie with the hand.
Oh, yes, I've seen it.
Oh, it's a trippy-ass movie. The two guys that, I guess, that directed the movie, I think they're Australian. I think it was shot in Australia. They were talking about that. They were talking about how they were shopping it around. A lot of studios were trying to get it, but they didn't want. They decided not to go with any of the big studios, because they weren't getting that final cut.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my question to you is, how important is that to you as a actress and as a director to have that?
Well, I think, like you said, it does depend on the film and what agreement you make. So if that director would have signed with those studios, then he or she could have potentially lost control over the final cut. So it happens a lot where directors will work with a big studio and then the final cut comes out to be something that they didn't create. And then it's the studio's version of it. And then the director is like, that wasn't the film I made.
Yeah.
It happens.
But it has your name, but it has the
Exactly.
director.
So then if the film flops and they're like, that wasn't the film I made, they have no control over that, because the studio they override that decision in some cases, right? So then it depends on whatever agreement you have. And in some cases, it's sad because somebody's artistic vision gets ripped apart and then your name's on it, and you're like, that wasn't my cut.
Yeah.
It happens. And so it's very important. It's very important to have that final cut, the final decision making. However, it's also important to get feedback. It's also important to be open to hearing, like, hey, that scene's not working. Hey, that's just not working, and listening to feedback, getting audience feedback. It's good to be open to that too. However, somebody's got to be the decision makers ultimately. So you got to figure out who that's going to be, make that agreement, and then that person be the one.
Let me ask you a question. Here's another question. Last time when you first talked to us about the film, about the short film, you said you were possibly looking at making it an actual feature film, right? Mm-hmm. If you got the opportunity to do a feature film, specifically for this film, would you give up control of Final Cut? Or would that take away from your experience and your story?
I feel since the first time we talked about it and since I made that statement, I feel like I've now been through the film festival circuit enough screenings and enough conversations that have been built from this film that I honestly don't even need to do a feature of this anymore.
Gotcha.
Because my pain has been released. And that's really all I wanted. That was the purpose.
You've told your story.
Yes. So I don't need to do anything else.
So a year ago, you didn't know if this was going to be enough to tell your story?
I didn't know how I was going to feel.
Gotcha.
but I feel like I'm already in that healing process, that healing journey. Like, what else do I have to do? Like,
Gotcha.
this was it. This was it. And so I'm feeling very grateful and blessed to be able to tell the story and share it. I don't need to do anything else with it.
Okay.
Other stories? Absolutely.
That's what
Other films? Absolutely.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is there, now that you got the bug about, like telling a story, have you thought about, I'm gonna make another, or I'm gonna be part of producing another one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so my niece, who's kind of been growing up throughout this process, right, the last few years, and watching me move to LA and really just develop as an actress, she's just seen a lot of my work. And, I'll go to the house, we'll screen my stuff at the house. And so she's asking me, Nina, when are you going to put me in a film? I want to be an actress. And so what I'm doing with her is I'm trying to empower her to understand that she can create art. She doesn't need me to put her in a film. So let's create art together. Do you have an idea? Yeah, what's your idea? So then she wants to be a superhero. What is your superhero's name? What does she look like? What is the color of her outfit? What is she wearing? What does she do? What are her superpowers? So I'm asking her these questions so that she can start generating her own film, her own idea. So I told her, let's create a short film, you and I. 3-5 minutes, micro short. Me and you, my niece. But you be the writer. I'm just going to help you create this film. And she's a little girl. But I want to empower her to know that she doesn't need to wait on somebody else to create something. She can create her own story. But if she's passionate enough, she's just got to put in the work. And so that's what we're doing. We're talking about it. I had her draw out her costume. This is what her costume looks like. I talked to one of my friends who's a designer. We were already working this whole process out. And it's short. It's 3 to 5 minutes. But I'm talking to DPs, and we're already getting this moving. And those are the kind of stories I want to tell, because that's coming from my niece's perspective. And I'm not only empowering her to think like I can do this on my own as a child. She's going to have writing credits on her own film. She's a kid.
Yeah.
Right? I want to empower her to tell that story and do projects like that. And of course, I audition through my agent and other things that are different from that. But in parallel, I can still create. Yeah. I'm producing. I'm going to be directing. And I want to help other people feel empowered to create as well.
There you go, Mike. Start writing your script.
Hey, believe it or not, there's a video out there that I produced and directed in high school.
About what?
So
Me too.
I don't know who kept that video. It's a VHS tape.
Me too.
And it was I think it was English. We had a project. We were reading, what's that? A Streetcar Named Desire. And Stella, yeah. And we read Of Mice and Men.
Yes.
Okay, so we were given, we were told, hey, do a movie about either one of the books. And I mixed both books where I can't remember all the characters' names. I remember Stella, and then there was Stella was the sister. And then the sister was married or with this one guy, but he was cheating on her with Stella, right? I think that's what, or he loved Stella.
Stella was his wife, and then the sister came to stay with them.
Oh, yeah. One or the other.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I made it into a Jerry Springer. I did the Stella, the fight.
Yeah.
I even added Lenny from Of Mice and Men. It was funny. I was Steve because I was bald.
Creative.
Yeah, I don't know where the VHS is at.
Yeah.
I remember we filmed it at Sylvia's house. I remember Janet was there. Brecky, Fernando was there. I can't remember who else, but anyways, I've directed.
Mine too.
Nice.
What'd you do?
I made a film. My senior project was on a film.
Okay.
So I shot a film, a basketball film. Like the M1 mixtapes that they had?
Yeah.
So I did that, but like when we would go play ball, I just record everything. I edited it together and all that stuff, and just, yeah.
Oh, shit. Where's that at?
Cool.
A VHS somewhere? I don't know.
I remember who kept ours
Yeah.
because we watched it in class, and then I think the VHS belonged to Sylvia. I've asked her, but she says she doesn't remember. But yeah, it's somewhere out there.
See? It's out there, man.
We're all creating our work. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. You can make a film with your cell phone.
Yeah, nowadays you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think now that I have equipment, I want to start doing things like that. So I actually wanted to go to Johnny's thing on Saturday where they're
Training
gonna be the training day, but I'm gonna be in Wisconsin, so not gonna be able to make it. But yeah, you were gonna say something. I'm sorry.
What you said earlier about trying things and learning and failing, and I think that's important even with the film stuff, right? Like things you want to create, just put stuff out there. Don't wait for it to be perfect or the perfect circumstances, because we're all learning with each iteration, right? Mm-hmm. So put something out there. Okay, that didn't work. Put something new out there. Okay, I'm going to learn from that. Put something new out there, and then you grow and you develop and you get better, but don't be afraid to put bad work out there. Learn from it, and then you're going to get better over time. That we just have to not be afraid of being imperfect. We have to learn from our mistakes, right?
And now that I think about it, I have another video. I did a do-it-yourself oil change.
Oh.
And I literally it's like, I didn't want to speak, so I just cut. Like, I think.
Did you do voiceover?
No, I put captions.
Oh.
So, and I added the music. And I think it was like.
Send it to me. I need to learn how to do that.
So I put do-it-yourself in 15 minutes. That was my title. And then the video is literally like 30 seconds long because I sped through it, right? I put the fast thing on it. And it's literally take off the cap. I had a GoPro underneath. I had the whole GoPro on top. Take this off, do this, put this on, make sure, clean the oil. But there's everything is a caption. So I did that. And I actually, it's watched. It has like 15,000 views.
Wow. No, seriously, send it to me.
Yeah. I guess people are looking for, and it's for a Yaris too, so I don't know who has a Yaris. I put do-it-yourself oil change on a Yaris. But anyways, it's funny. But you're right. To agree with you is, I did it just because I was like, fuck, I want to create something. You know what? I have more videos. I'm going to send you my link.
Okay.
There's a haunted playground that I did by my house. It's funny. I added the sound effects and all that. But I was just creating it. And then people started commenting, this is fake. I'm like, yeah, like, dude, it's not real.
Of course.
But it's funny. Yeah, just create it and just throw it out there. And you learn. It's all about learning. Yeah. So
exactly.
Do it, fool. You better do it.
I already am. I'm already like.
I saw you take your camera.
I did. I took my cameras. I recorded like the whole festival, Dia de los Muertos over there. Nice. So I'm going to put it together. Like, I've been stuck on color grading right now, how to get colors. So, yeah, so it's just one of those things that I've always liked. I might as well,
Yeah.
Start doing. So, you ready to move on to no manches or what?
Let's go. You got to start it this time.
I'm going to start it this time?
Yeah.
All right. No manches is stupid, okay? But no manches, I forgot how far Vegas is driving.
On what day and what time? Because the day and time matters.
It was a Wednesday night. So, okay, yeah. So I got a lot of traffic up to Hesperia. After that, it was clear. But damn, I forgot. Even on the way back, there was no traffic. It was Friday morning. It's like, I forgot how far Vegas is. Like,
how far is it?
3.5, 4 hours.
I'm making it 4 hours. Yeah. I'm making it 2.5.
Well, no, there's too many cars now. Too many highway patrols now. Yeah, you can't do what you used to do. But I haven't driven like that. Well, actually, we drove to San Jose, but that one didn't seem as bad because it was like we were talking.
Yeah, we were talking.
We're talking and doing karaoke.
That's further.
It is. It is. But I just had forgotten. I was like, nah, I'm gonna be there like in 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Fuck no.
Do you stop or do you go straight?
Oh, hell no, go straight.
That's the worst. That's why it's long. Nah. You gotta stop at Wally's World. Was it Wally's World?
Is that the candy store?
Yeah, that's a big ass candy store. You don't stop?
You do that at night? Like, it was night.
Oh, well, I usually go early in the morning. Like, when I go to Vegas, I go like at 4 or 5 in the morning.
And then, no manches, it's fucking dark in the desert. There's nothing, like, it's like pitch black. So, yeah, I had forgotten how far it is.
Nah, fool, it's Vegas, fool. It's Vegas. Man, I had my no manches right here, and he just took it away.
It was the same thing, or?
No, it was something else. It was like I had it, but then se me fue la onda. So I'm gonna divert to you, and then I'll come back. I'll do last. I'll be last today.
Right. I was actually thinking about this because I've been on your show before, and I feel like this has been happening to me a lot lately. Not to me, but I've been witnessing it when people take things personally that aren't about them, like nothing to do with them at all, but they take it personal. I'm like, wait, that's not even something about you. Or like, let's just say someone posts a story about something that they're going through, and it's about them. And then someone watches the story, and then they feel oh my God, they're talking about me.
They get so defensive.
But it has nothing to do with them because they're not even thinking about that person. It's something they're going through individually that someone will take offense. I'm like, they're probably not even thinking about you when they posted that, but you're taking it personal.
That's probably because if the shoe fits, you wear it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they're probably looking in and they feel like
Exactly.
vulnerable. Well, then
feel
maybe it's
attacked.
something about you, but that person didn't post it about you, right? It's just people taking things personally when it has nothing to do with them personally, right? That person's not even thinking about you.
That's what I tell everybody. Like, sometimes we're tripping out and pissed off, like, talking about this person. Like, dude, the person you're thinking about is not even, doesn't give a shit about you. They're not even thinking about you. You're over here stressing yourself out, angry, cursing them out, like, all this thing, and they don't even give a fuck.
That's cool. I do that shit because I'm an overthinker, dog. You know me, I'm an overthinker. I fucking think everything's about me. Anyways.
You got it? You got
I
your
got my
no
no
manches?
manches back. All right, so the last couple of days have been kind of crazy. I was off on Friday because I get off every other Friday. I get off. And I've been going out with the homies every other night. Thursday night I went out with Pierre. Friday I went out with my brother. And then yesterday I went out again with Pierre. But what happened to fucking bar food?
What do you mean bar food?
So we show up. Pierre shows up in my house Thursday. He's like, hey, let's go out. Let's go have a drink. All right, cool. Fuck it. He's like, I haven't ate.
Well, first of all, you say bar.
Well, like a dive bar.
So if
food.
it's
you've been to Redlands with me.
But dive bars don't have food.
They have chicken wings and fucking.
Nah, not dive bars.
Yeah, I'm not talking about like full on like
Mozzarella
food.
sticks.
They have the snack foods or the finger
Appetizers.
foods. Yeah.
Not
Well,
no
we showed
more.
up. We showed up at 10:30, and we're like, all right, let's get something to eat first, and then we'll start drinking. None of the bars out there had the Falconeer, and I've eaten at the Falconeer. Nada.
Are you sure the kitchen didn't close? Like they were open, but then they
They
closed
were
at
open,
9?
but I'm saying what happened to like them closing? It was
Okay.
10:30.
Yeah, that's late. 10 o'clock is cut off.
Really?
But then once again, if you're going to places that don't say bar and grill, then that's when you're messing up.
So
Look
I
for the
fucked up
grill.
then.
Yeah, look for the grill part. Or if it's a gastro pub. You know?
Well, these are gastro pubs.
Some of them, no.
The Falconeer is one of them.
Okay, but they close their kitchen at 10.
That's
So it's
no manches.
Keep it open longer.
Shit.
no man, just keep it open and shit. Midnight.
The taco stand was closed too.
It's a Thursday, fool. Well, actually, by my house, there's taco people every day now, so it's pretty dope. So yeah, that's
the library has food.
Library.
Yeah.
Oh, they have like cafes now, huh?
Yeah.
Or is that
It's a
a
special
bar?
I think he's talking about something completely
There's a
different.
It's a
bar in San
strip
Luis Obispo
bar.
called the Library.
Yeah, it's a strip club. It's a strip club.
'Cause in downtown LA, there's a bar, actual
library?
bar, the library.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nah, my library. Yeah, it's a different. Anyway, that was my no manches.
All right. Words of wisdom?
Where's the wisdom?
Yeah, you've been on the show twice, three
Words
times
of
today.
wisdom.
With today's
She's co-hosted it too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to piggyback off of what you said something earlier, right? The making mistakes, the perfectionism. I think a lot of us are afraid to do the things that are in our heart or in the goals in our life because we're afraid to put something that's less than perfect out there, or we're afraid to try something and be less than perfect and be shown to be vulnerable. But the truth is, we need to be okay with making mistakes. We need to be okay with saying, I'm going to learn from this. I made a mistake, yes, but I'm walking away with a lesson. And I think that if we look at life that way, that we don't feel so bad when we do make a mistake because we're walking away with that lesson. And then we're going to be more courageous to meet more goals and do more things in our life. But not being afraid, making mistakes, learning from them, and walking away with those lessons is really important to living a good life, right? And not living in that fear. Don't live in that fear. Just take the risk, make that mistake, and be okay with it.
Nice. She said it better than I did. Yeah.
That reminds me, a couple of days ago, Esmeralda posted a video. She was running the Santa Fe Dam. And I said, yeah, get it, you know? And she responded and she said, 1% at a time. And I said, well, 1% is better than no percent. And she's like, she bumped it. That was it. But you're right. we're scared to do things because we want them to be perfect sometimes, or we're like, fuck, it's not gonna be good enough.
Or we expect the results right away.
Exactly. So, well said.
Yeah, we want to thank you, Sonia, for showing us your film.
Yeah.
It was great, even though my buffering was sucked.
Yeah, you did
But
better.
it was still.
We
was
got
still
through
great.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And just the conversation, for getting us, vulnerable, and you had us all three of us got
I
emotional.
think all of us cried.
Yeah,
Maybe
all
all
of
of us teared up. A
I held back. I didn't want to cry, but I do want to say thank you personally because the film does impact me. Like I know what that is like, and not from her point of view, but from his point of view. And it's like
even from the child's point of view. You think
you're
about
right.
it.
Because as a child, I saw it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
In one thing specifically, like when he pinky promised about making breakfast, shit, my dad never went to any of my soccer games. And the one time he actually went, I think I said this before on here, he was drunk as fuck. And my mom made him go. And he didn't even want to go. So I like just things that were like my dad was kind of absent. I was kind of like, it does hit home. But like I said, it hits home because of the message and what they go through. I could admit that I made mistakes in my life, not just as a partner, but as a friend, as a son, and even as a dad. Because I'm not a perfect dad, you know what I mean. And I love my kids, so I love you. I know you guys are not watching this because it's too R-rated for you guys.
PG-13.
No, it's not PG-13 because I cuss a lot. But anyways, no, for real, I want to say thank you, honestly. And I'm glad you were able to express what you went through and showcase it.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for the platform, too. Thank you for giving me the space to share something so vulnerable and precious to me in my life. And just to be here today and to talk to you, and from the dream to the goal to filming it to now watching it together and being able to celebrate and talk through it, I think this is exactly why I created the film. And it touched all of our hearts today, and I hope it touches more people's hearts, whoever watches it in the future. And it makes me really happy. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks. Before we go, you got to let everybody know where they can find you. And are you going to put it out on a platform or anywhere for people to watch it?
I hope to.
Okay.
Yeah, put it once we're done with the film festival circuit so that more people can have access to it and watch it. I think it's an important story to share.
Exactly.
So, right now you can follow Addicted to You Film on Instagram. You can find it there. All of the updates on the film festival circuit, any places that we're going to be screening, will be shared on the Instagram page. You can follow me as well, Sonia Balcazar on Instagram, and I'll share about it there as well. And the new projects that are coming up, because I'll be directing in 2024. And then making my niece's film. So we don't have a title yet, but wait for that
If
one.
you need extras.
Hey, for real.
I will need extras for that.
Hey, let me know. I'm down.
For real.
Hey, I want to say also, this is going to drop around Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy the day the day with your families. I know a lot of you guys are going to have your kids at home, so buy the snacks and just, be with your families. Love your families.
Yeah,
okay?
we talked about earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure we're going to see you around. We run into each other at all the events.
Always.
So, but thanks. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching.